Hey guys, I'm Justin.
And I'm Saul, and this is
The Retro Reboot Arcade. Welcome back to another episode of the Retro Reboot Arcade. I'm Justin.
I'm Saul.
So we've got, I would say, breaking news. Almost.
Quite breaking.
We just got back from the world premiere of the Uncharted movie.
Oh, we did it. We finished it. What
That was fucking awesome.
You liked it?
That was awesome.
That's good. I'm glad you liked it. This is very copyrighted.
Yes, it is.
Anyways.
Starring Tom Holland as Nathan Drake and Mark Wahlberg, Marky Mark, and the Funky Bunch. Not the Funky Bunch, just Marky Mark as Sully. So, this is going to be a review video. So we're going to be kind of giving our thoughts.
We just watched it, fresh
We just
off
seen
of it.
It's fresh in our minds. But before we dig into the review, tell us what we're drinking tonight.
So today, this is going to be a little new thing that we're going to add on, is going to be our good friend.
The beer.
Yes. This one's called Pretty Nice Little Saturday by Triptych Brewing.
So, cheers, my friend. Oh, really good. So, crack open a cold one if you want to. Pour yourself a cocktail, soda, whatever you like.
Or a glass of wine. If that's
or a
your
glass
choice.
of wine. Buckle up and join us for the review.
What's up, guys?
All right, what's up, guys? So,
First off, we'd like to say we have a prisoner of war
oh yeah.
on the Retron.
So, basically the way that that episodes are going to work, we're going to try a couple different things. Thank you for joining us for our second. It's our second.
Our second official episode. What is this? Huh. What's up, everybody?
Hey guys. So,
Welcome to the Retro Reboot Arcade. The reason why we're calling it that is because...
oh yeah. So, like we said in the introduction and in the beginning of our first episode, is we like old school. We like retro. Video games, movies, nostalgia. I mean, to me, there's no greater time period than, for us, the retro period.
the golden age.
Touching into the late 70s up until maybe the mid to late 90s. That's like the perfect time for video games, movies, music, comics, like everything. So there's some great stuff out nowadays, but where it really hits
Nothing
nostalgia
that really
is,
piques your interest, like
Right.
something that
oh yeah,
came from the heart back then.
right. So, but it's actually kind of ironic because we'll get into this in a whole nother episode, but my favorite video game series of all time is the Uncharted series, which is not retro. I mean, I guess the first one can be considered, but anyway. So the way that this is going to work is we're going to do something a little goofy for ambiance. Like we said, bear with us while we build up our collection, but we'll kind of feature a game on the console, a retro game on the console, maybe a different console as we collect consoles. Generally, that game demo, playthrough, or whatever will be shown on the TV, but since this is the Uncharted movie review, we've got something else planned. But and then, like we said in the open, we'll be usually drinking beer because, I mean,
Who doesn't like a good beer?
beer, video games, movies. I mean, seriously,
Let's get started.
the movie.
Yeah.
I think we told you before, maybe not, but our ranking system is based off of bits. You got 4, which absolutely sucks balls. Then you've got 8, 16, 32, and 64. To me, the Uncharted movie that just released today, that we got back not too long ago from seeing 64 bits. Hands down.
64
fantastic.
bits out of 64.
So, what were your thoughts?
Well, in my opinion.
So let me tell you. No, just kidding.
Alright, so from my perspective, I actually have not gone and played through all the games. So I'm unbeknownst to the Uncharted series. So I went into this movie thinking, like, it's just another movie. Like, if you've never read the Marvel comics
Mhm.
and you just went in walking into a Marvel movie, you're going to be a little lost. But you might know a couple of names, you might know a couple motifs, but you're not going to know the overall story or the arc or the characters.
So, sorry for interrupting.
Go ahead.
But like 2 specific times, I don't want to give it away. This is going to contain spoilers. So if you've not seen the movie yet, do not watch this video. Come back and watch this video after you see the movie. But this movie will contain spoilers. So just as a warning. But as a sidebar, Nolan North was in the movie. He didn't know who he was.
No idea.
He knows Nolan North, but he didn't know what he looked like.
I know he's a voice actor, and I know that he voices a lot of characters.
Awesome characters.
Yes.
And one of them being probably his most iconic is Nathan Drake. And he was in there also when Nathan Drake was opening up his suitcase, footlocker, whatever you call it, from the school, the orphanage.
Mhm.
On the inside, it had a Naughty Dog sticker at the bottom. I caught that. He did not. So, I love movies that have little homages to the tradition,
The original
to the
content.
original
Yeah.
theme of what's going on. So, continue, sir.
Okay. But, yeah, to the average viewer, such as myself, it would come across as just another movie. But to the seasoned veteran, it includes a lot of homages, a lot of little things that you would enjoy if you caught it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. Even me, as someone who doesn't usually play this game, I did manage to catch a lot of things because you know the character, you know the name, and when they include certain things, you're like, I appreciate that. And I thought that was awesome. Now, because I haven't played the games, my rating is not as high as his because I wasn't entirely able to, I guess, fully embrace the movie.
Yeah, right.
Right? But for what it is,
So
just
what
at
would you
face
rate it?
value, I would rate it 32 bits out of 64. And in other terms, an 8 out of 10.
That'd be 4 out of 5, right?
4 out of 5.
So, yeah, that's actually 80%. So,
Yeah. So
walking
walking into a theater and just say you just want to watch this movie, 4 out of 5.
So 32 bits is really good.
Mhm.
Like, it's just fresh to me.
Well,
So
before you
I do
start-
64. If I go back and look at it like tomorrow, I may do 32.
But let's hear as to why you rated it your rating.
So okay. Nathan Drake is like my spirit animal. Like I've always loved. What?
I mean, he's not much of an animal.
But
When I think spirit animal, I think like, I'm a gazelle. I frolic, and I'm free.
anyway, he's a badass.
Or a panda.
with-
Pandas are
with-
cool too.
He's not a panda. No, you're a panda.
Yeah.
You're spirit animal. So, but Nathan Drake is a badass without being like an overpowered badass.
Oh, definitely.
Like he's an action star,
Mhm.
but he gets his ass kicked a lot. But the thing that I love about it though is like he's not this big, buff, powerful guy that's like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's not your typical 80s, 90s movie, action movie superstar.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Right. Yeah. Steven Seagal. Well, Steven Seagal was never really buff, but I digress. But he's smart, extremely smart. He uses his smarts, his kindness, and everything, and his wits. Like he's just like he's like fucking fantastic. And I've always loved movies like that, like action movies, but they're also very, um, they get you to think, and they're puzzle solving and stuff like that. And I've always loved the games, and to me, one of the best soundtracks in all the video games is
From the Uncharted series.
pick any of them, right? So, but that's another video. That's another episode.
May I pose a question to you?
Pose. Away.
Okay. So you said about the character. What do you think about the casting? Do you think Tom Holland was he a good Nathan Drake?
Yes. So one of the things I loved about the movie is that they made the movie a lot like the video game series. Like the storyline, chronology, all that stuff, they tied it together a lot in that movie so that the movie was very recognizable. But yet there was a lot different. So it had a different, unique spin on it, if you will.
So it didn't exactly follow the plot line. It
no,
was loosely based.
Some of them, yes, but like Chloe Fraser, like it's been so long since I played these movies, but I don't think you were introduced to
played
Chloe.
the games.
Yeah, sorry, but I'm so stoked. I'm so
I can tell.
But I don't think Chloe Fraser was introduced in
The first one.
In the first one, I don't believe. But
It was a good
definitely his brother. The beginning of the movie started off like the fourth game, if I'm not mistaken, where you saw them as younger kids and everything, and it was Uncharted 4,
Okay.
A Thief's End. Fucking phenomenal way to cap off a series. But so it kind of twisted some of the chronology around, but it still kept it true to its core and to its nature, to where it was like diehard Uncharted game players, lovers would still love this movie, even though it was a little different. I loved it. Like you weren't really introduced to Nathan Drake as a kid meeting Sullivan until later on in the game series, with his brother until later on in the game series, but it was like right away in here, like that history. So instead of waiting for a couple movies to come out to introduce that,
it skips the exposition.
So like instead of how they do prequels and stuff in movies, so instead of twisting the chronology around, they basically brought it back to the beginning and said, okay, we're going to start off with what the game series ended on. But I digress. Phenomenal. 64 bits. Hands down, a great movie, a great time. I can't say enough about it. Tom Holland, yes, I think he nailed it. At first, I was a little weary because in the games, Nathan Drake is older. He's older. But again, later on in the game series, you are introduced to Nathan Drake as a younger boy. Younger man when he meets Sully, and they start teaming up and everything. So you were introduced that to the very beginning. So Sully isn't an old white-haired man, in the movie. He's a younger version of Sully in the movie. So is Nathan Drake. So that lines up. So it was a little weird. Took me a little bit getting used to, primarily from seeing the casting of Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg. I went in with kind of low expectations, only because I was afraid that it was just not going to work.
You don't want to walk in there and see something that you behold fail.
Right. And I was just afraid that it wasn't going to work, because it's like everybody's too young. They're like, because you're used to Nathan Drake being
Mark Wahlberg's
older.
not that young.
Well, no, but they're portraying him as younger in the movie.
Right.
But it worked. Like, Mark Wahlberg's, like, I think he was a little bit more of a mischievous Sully. Like, he was a little bit more of a
He was more Mark Wahlberg than he was the actual character.
No. Sully, you could tell, loved
Mm-hmm.
Nate. But again, that could go to the whole fact that they just met.
Right.
So you didn't get that. If they get greenlighted for a sequel, you may be able to see more of that. But that's but that's the thing though, is a lot of the stuff that you loved about the Uncharted series, it's just beginning in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I say a lot of it is different, but it's still a lot is the same. So it's phenomenal. Like I love it. Great movie.
All right.
The action sequences were awesome. The fight sequences were, I mean, all fight sequences are choreographed, but they seemed less choreographed as far as they seemed more real life, rough and tumble.
Yeah.
Just picking something up to hit somebody with it and you wrestling around a little bit more like what you'd picture. But
I have another question.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about the protagonists.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about the antagonists?
Antonio Banderas is my guy.
So there were actually two, maybe actually there were multiple antagonists. There was a main antagonist, then there was a secondary one, and then there was a little switcheroo.
In the world of treasure hunting and thievery, everybody's an antagonist.
Right, you can't trust anybody.
I thought Antonio Banderas was great in his role as Santiago. I can't pronounce the last name, but
this is gonna go more into the spoilery side of the movie.
Yeah, I thought he was great. Like he played the evil guy, but he was
okay. Anyway, so tell me about Antonio Banderas.
So Antonio Banderas was phenomenal as a bad guy. I love Antonio Banderas. He's a great actor. Like he can play a bad guy. He can play and be a great bad guy. Like someone you really love to hate. Like he does his job. He could also be a fantastic good guy. Like
Zorro.
But he played a great role, and you never really you could sense he was evil without him having to be outright evil. Right. And there were times like one of the other antagonists, the one that he hired, he would kind of threaten, but nicely. And then he would give pretty much like, hey, I think you need to go here and do this or whatever. And then she would agree with it, and he'd okay, perfect. Smile, and you just realized, wow, he kind of threatened her and smiled about it without being mean.
I would attest to that. I feel like he the whole time he was portrayed as the head honcho who was not afraid to double cross whoever came across his path and stop whatever you wanted. And at the end of the day, it came back around it.
Oh yeah.
And I thought that was a good
and the funny thing of
story.
it, and the funny thing of it is he was portrayed as the head honcho, like you said, but he ended up not being. Everybody had their own agenda.
I think that's pretty good storytelling.
And there's and then she just looks at everybody and they're like, all right, and it's
goes back to that you can't trust anybody.
Now, the chick that played Chloe Fraser did a hell of a job.
See, forgive me, I'm not familiar with that character in the game.
She did. She played that character very well. You wanted to trust her, yet you couldn't, but you think you can, and you can, but yet you shouldn't. If that makes sense.
That's a good description.
Yeah, it's it's I don't know how else to put it. It's like I want to trust you, but I don't think I can. But I will trust you. But I know I shouldn't. But I want to. But I'm not going to. But I will. It's mind-blowing.
Well,
But
they did a great job of it. Like, she gets her life saved.
Yeah.
So, as a natural human being, you got your life saved. You want to repay that same favor.
Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't. Lo and behold, she's back. And she does.
And then she ends up saving his life. Yeah. And then
after that, you realize you can't trust her. Or can you? So you try to. And then she proves, no, you couldn't trust her.
But you shouldn't.
But you shouldn't. But you want to.
And you can. But can you?
But can you? But she does come back towards the end of the movie, which makes you... It begs the question, is there going to be a sequel?
Oh my gosh, I hope so. Yeah, I will buy tickets again for that one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, Lord help me, please. I love this movie. I don't know what else to say. Like, I am not a critic. I don't watch movies, play games, eat food, listen to music with an intent of a studious nature or anything like that. I just enjoy things and I take it for what it is. And if there's things that are going on in whatever it is that I don't like, then I don't like it. But if there's things that are going on in it that I love, like with this movie, like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, it was the top 3 things for me that did it. Nostalgia. The first time I played Uncharted Drake's Fortune, I was not sure about it because I didn't know, like, I was not really too fond of that kind of video game.
Okay.
And I mean, I fell in love with it. But nostalgia would be one of the 3 things. The second would be, I believe, great acting. Like, this movie, it was great acting. Like, they played their characters.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And they played them very well. The third thing is the storyline. Like, it was a very, to me, again, I'm not a critic, but to me, it was a very well-written story. Like, there were things that kind of happened that was like a twist. It's like, okay, well, I was kind of thinking that was going to happen, but the way that it happened was kind of a twist. But if you had to give 3 things that you liked about the movie.
Definitely the character interaction.
Mm-hmm.
I thought each character had a different, I guess, attachment to each other. Like Nathan and Scully had a different.
Sully.
Sully?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, Scully's from a different.
Yeah, that's key. Yeah.
Nathan and Sully had a different kind of partnership, and then Nathan and his brother.
Yeah.
And then Nathan and what is
Chloe.
her name? Chloe.
Yeah. Yeah.
They all had different kind of interactions, and it
Different levels of their relationship, I believe.
And it kind of added more to their characters.
Mm-hmm. It added depth.
Yeah. A lot of depth. A lot of world building.
The way that they interacted with each other so differently.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost like real life. Like,
yeah.
The way, I mean, you said it perfectly. The way Nate interacted with his brother, Sully, and Chloe were all 3 different.
Yeah.
It was, like I said, it was very well acted. It was very well written because in real life, you act different with different people.
Right.
It doesn't mean that you're a different person. It's just you know different people and what they like, how they are, and you natural. And that was how it was.
It makes it more natural, and it helps to tell the story without actually literally telling the story.
Right.
You depict it with your emotions and your feelings and how you portray yourself with another person. And I thought that was really good. And the second thing I think is the different settings that this movie was filmed at. Like
It was just like the games.
Yeah, I know the video games focus heavily on exploration, and this delivers.
It was. I thought. I mean, it felt like if you sit there and you think about it, and you're watching the movie, and you think it felt like you were playing an Uncharted game.
Yeah, no, I believe it. It almost, to me, it felt like it was just the movie was one extended long cutscene taken from the video game. That's like the best way I can describe it.
Yeah.
Like if I were sitting there watching a loading game screen, like right now, that's what I pictured the movie as. Like I was just taken away from the video game and put in front of
a cutscene.
Yeah, and I thought that was brilliant. Just the way that they were able to portray our world. That's another my second point, and the third point.
Yeah.
Perspective.
Like you were right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was incredible. And that's another my second point. And the third point, let's see. What can we go with?
See, and we didn't really talk about this.
No.
Like we kind of we kind of talked about it a little bit like right after the movie. There is an Easter egg scene. So please, whenever you're watching a movie in the movie theater and they don't turn the damn lights on, sit your ass in your seat because more than likely there's going to be an Easter egg. But if the credits start rolling and they turn the lights on, there's probably not. So everybody literally got up and walked out except us because I'm a huge Marvel fan, huge Marvel MCU fan. And I know from that, if the lights don't come on when the movie is over, there's an Easter egg. There's an end credit scene.
Luxury sedan driver. Yes, give it for the luxury sedan driver.
You know how most movies start you off as this is how I got here. This is what's happening.
To your point, can I interrupt
Go
for
ahead,
a second?
yes.
Quick second, please. One of the things I loved about the games is that usually you end up starting off right in the middle of all of the action and the peril and everything else of how Nate, like, when shit went sideways, you know, so like that's how the movie started.
So it was
he's on top of the
video
cargo and everything else on the plane, and you're like, what the hell? And then it just like with the video games, it went to a flashback.
A great callback. You know, an indirect callback. People like me wouldn't know that,
right?
But could appreciate it. Yet somebody who actually played the video games is like, they just did something that they did in the video game.
Yeah.
And that makes them enjoy it that much more.
A lot of the reasons why in my opinion, I believe one of the biggest reasons why a lot of movie translations from video games is because they try to make it way too different. They try to make it bigger, louder. They try to give it more pizzazz. They try to do something way different and make it more cinematic and theatrical.
How much more money can I throw at this?
Well, and maybe it's not even that. Maybe it's just, okay, it's a video game, but we need to make this a movie. So let's make it bigger and crazier, almost, it seems like. This, I believe, stayed true to the video game in the aspect of the story, the progression, and all that stuff. So, but you're saying storytelling.
Yeah. Just to wrap that one up, there is a lot of there's a lot of points in the movie where you think you know where it's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, go here. And then you're like, oh, I expect this to happen. And then your expectations are diverted. Something else happens, and you're like, oh, wow, I have to rethink this whole entire plot now because it's not going how I expected. And I like that in a movie.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't do it once or twice. It does it the entire movie.
Yeah.
Where you don't know what's about to happen. And I think that makes it a lot more fresh, and it brings a lot of better storytelling, because I feel like every movie or mainstream movie that comes out right now involves a very flat kind of like hero's plot where the hero falls. He finds a reason to rise.
So kind of like your whole redemption story.
Yes. He gets there, succeeds, and the day is saved.
A lot of times it reminds me of your old school video games, to where it's like you start off as the maxed out hero, and then something happens, and then you're back to square one, and you have to build it back up and everything. Yeah, it's like,
most of the video game adaptations that you see, you know where the movie's going to end up at because you've played it. You know how video games work, and you know that this is the main character. He's not going to die. He's got a sequel coming up, you know, that kind of thing.
I hope.
Yeah, but in this case, you actually don't know. Well, you know at the end of the movie.
You know, but you are...
The whole time, it's just kind of like...
It's in the back of your mind, like, is it, like, are they going to do something out of the ordinary and, like, really kill one of the main people before... Yeah, absolutely.
It's really good. And, you know, I love Star Wars, and the one thing I hate about it is it's very predictable.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Like, outside of the first three, 4, 5, and 6, the core Star Wars movies. I mean, because, when Darth Vader says that he is Luke's father, I didn't know that was going to happen. Like, that was... But on the consecutive movies, like the first 3 and then the last 3, yeah. I mean, you do. And that's like with this movie, there are parts in it to where you're like, okay, I knew that was going to happen, and then something else happens, and you're like, whoa, I did not know that was going to happen, though.
Yeah.
So
it subverts your expectations at almost every single point of the movie.
Now, what are some things you didn't like about the movie?
I'm going to say was the Braddock character actually from the video game?
I don't recall. I don't remember. It's been so long since I've played the Uncharted games.
Because I have a feeling that she was just made up for the movie. Because I'm not exactly sure, but because of the fact that they killed her off. So one thing I did not like about the movie, I want to say the inclusion of the Braddock character, or Braddock. I don't know.
Braddock, yeah,
Braddock.
something like that.
Yeah. She had a good character. I just didn't like how they thrust her in every single part of the story.
She almost seemed like...
She was like the person who you wanted to hate, who you thought was just like an underling.
But they tried too hard.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things to where, at the end, when Antonio Banderas' character was killed, she all of a sudden became like...
The Kingpin?
Yeah, like, like she became like the demon lord of all of it. And it's like, if you were really that badass, why couldn't you have done that? Like in some of the Uncharted games and in other video games, you had like that number 2 person or the captain or general in the main bad person's control, who you saw had a lot more potential. She just... I don't want to say it like this. I don't mean it like this, but it's almost like she seemed like the bumbling idiot at sometimes, where it was like she tried. She's good at her job, but whenever she tried to move past just being a subordinate, she ended up just failing miserably.
Yeah, to add to your point, this is why I don't like her character. The actor was incredible.
Yeah.
She did a great job. But her character is, the whole time, she's undermined by somebody else. She actually fails every single time that she's given the task to do something. So much so that Antonio Banderas' character actually has to hire a second person.
We hired her
at the same time because he expected that person to fail.
And she did. But
she
then
did.
she became the kingpin.
Yeah, but to add to that, she ends up betraying him. So it goes from like, oh, don't know what I'm doing to I'm the head honcho now, which kind of came to me as like
forced,
a little bit forced.
That's what I would say.
Which I have no problem with the character for being a forced character because it's just storytelling and you have to advance the plot somehow.
Well, but if you have a character that's like that, at least write it in a way. And I'm not taking anything away from the story and how it was written because I think it was awesome, like fantastic. But just like in this one like specific way, in other movies that I've seen, like you can write a character who is an underling, who is kind of bumbling. You could write it in a way to where it kind of gives people, okay, they're doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
Like they've got something up their sleeve. Like there's something going on.
But you never see that
happening. There was not that.
No.
It was just like, wow, she's like, why is she still alive? Like, why is he keeping her alive?
If anything, she actually follows his word throughout the whole entire movie without turning, a blind eye.
Mm-hmm.
She does it to his whim, I guess.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when it actually does happen, it's not so much a surprise, it's just more of like, why?
Right.
But then you realize as a viewer, why is because the writers made it so. But yeah, that's just the one thing that I didn't like about the movie. And also, I feel like she could have just been done off in like the first 20 minutes of the movie.
And you wouldn't have missed her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She did have a big like last boss battle, which I don't think was very, I want to say good, but it wasn't a very big send off to the character.
No, it was. It was. Honestly, but for her character, the boss battle fit her character.
It did.
Because she wasn't this. The way that her character was throughout the whole movie until she turned. The boss battle was just kind of like, okay, yeah, I mean, it was kind of. It was almost like the boss battle before the final boss battle. You know, it's like, okay, yeah, that it was a little bit difficult, but it was fairly easy. Now we're at the boss battle, and what the hell? but that was it. It was just, I mean, it was good, but
I think a part of it is they just needed a disposable character that they can do whatever with. Get rid of them, and then introduce somebody else in the next movie.
Perfectly put.
Yeah, much like how Marvel does it. They put a front man, easily defeated.
Very well put.
And then here comes Thanos.
Yeah, right. You feeling okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh shit! No. I shouldn't have done that again.
Yeah. It's actually you who starts this.
Oh yeah, that would
the twist.
What now? Oh. What if that would have happened? Like, fucking think about it.
Yeah.
Like if Thanos would have been like, and then he started disappearing.
No.
He's like, oh shit, no, unstep. But yeah, I think the one thing, I mean, outside of that, like I can accept it for what it is, but outside of that, the one thing I wish, one reason why I love Nathan Drake is I wish they would have made him a little snarkier, like a little bit more sarcastic. But again, that could just be to the credit because he's a younger Nathan Drake,
Mhm.
so he's not as weathered, grizzled. But I mean, considering that, yeah, I would say probably one of the things that I did not like was the fact that the Braddock character just kind of seemed forced. Like it was like, honestly, and it could have been like if you are introducing Braddock and Chloe Fraser,
I feel like she would have been a better.
they like, oh, they were both hired, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like that would have been a battle right there.
Well, they almost did, but they did nothing with it.
Yeah, yeah. But man, now it seems like we're just tearing the movie apart.
Well,
I don't want that to.
Yeah.
I don't want that to be like how it sounds. It's just, I mean, because you can take
well, you have
any
to
movie
say,
and sit
you
here.
have
and
to say
think
the
about it.
positives and you have to say the negatives.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, I mean, I give it a 64-bit because I love the movie, fantastic movie. I would watch it again in a heartbeat, just like Ready Player One. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie.
I have not.
Another fantastic movie. Yeah, you could probably find things nitpick about, but all in all, honestly, I am completely okay with what they did.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a great movie. I definitely highly recommend it. What is your recommendation?
I would recommend you play the games. I feel like you would enjoy it that much more. And that's, I feel like if I had played the games, my rating would have probably been at a 64-bit out of 64-bit.
You were a huge Pokemon guy, right?
I like Pokemon. I like Star Wars more though.
Well, I mean, like game wise,
Yeah,
like
Pokemon's
video
good.
games growing up. Like,
Yeah.
what was the biggest series of video games that you played?
Biggest series?
Not like biggest, but like your favorite series of all the games that you played.
I played a lot of Pokemon, but I've also played a lot of Star Wars. Star Wars, however, is not a series, it's just a collection of video games that they just kind of like to sprinkle the Star Wars name on.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So
Pokemon is actually like the same
okay. Well, then
formula, though.
take Pokemon. You played all the games. It's like you know the characters. You know this. You know that. Blah 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 blah. What did you think about the Detective Pikachu?
I thought it was a far cry from what Pokemon actually is.
See, that's the thing. I watched the movie. I actually liked the movie.
Yeah.
Knowing what I do know about Pokemon, come on, guys, you got to do better. But because I'm not as attached to the Pokemon games like what you are, like what I am Uncharted, I can like it in and of itself. Now, if they kind of did the same thing with this movie that they did with other video game movies, like, Super Mario Brothers.
They made a movie about that?
Exactly. Nobody remembers because the movie was horrible. It was terrible. I watch it every now and then just for nostalgia purposes, but the movie was horrible. But anyway, I apologize. I interrupted a lot. I interrupted a
Who plays
lot.
Deadpool?
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds. So, okay, to add to what he's saying, you can watch Detective Pikachu and enjoy it for the fact that it has Pokemon in it. Or the fact that it has Ryan Reynolds in it.
I think that's another reason why I made
That's
it
the
awesome because I love
problem.
Ryan Reynolds. So
You can go watch a big name movie about a big name video game franchise and just like it because it has your favorite people in it.
but that's not always the case, though.
It doesn't make it a good movie though.
No.
However, in this case, it is actually a very good movie, despite who the leading actors were.
Right.
Now, do I think they were a good pick? Yes. I don't know the characters more than he does, but I do think that they do fit the persona, and that's why I can enjoy it. However, I don't think that Pikachu having Ryan Reynolds' voice is going to make me love Pokemon that much more. I just think it's nice that, oh cool, Ryan Reynolds in the movie. That's about it.
Yeah.
And also, Detective Pikachu has nothing to do with the actual timeline of Pokemon. It's just
no. And that's what, like, the overall story was like.
it's more so you take Pokemon that people know, people love, and people
And
you know,
just
play
make
with.
a completely different movie.
And you just roll the dice and see what happens.
And you can't. And to me, in my opinion, if you are going to turn a book or video game into a movie, you got to keep it at its core exactly what that book or that movie or video game is. You can't just take Sully and Nate and then all of a sudden put them in like a freaking cop movie. And they're two detectives.
Right.
I mean, I know that's kind of outlandish and it's kind of reaching, but that's almost kind of like what they did with the Pokemon movie. It's like Pikachu didn't talk. Like, I mean, he did, but you didn't understand him. He wasn't as snarky like what Ryan Reynolds portrayed the character. I love Ryan Reynolds. It was just a movie that had Pokemon in it. It was just a movie that made money off of Pokemon. Whereas the Uncharted movie, it stayed true to the characters, who they were, to the core of the movie, or to the video game. And to me, a lot of, and even some video games that do that aren't written very well, so it doesn't work. But this was acted very well, written well, stayed true to the core of the of the video games, and I mean,
what more can you ask from a video game to movie? Right,
because there have been a lot of them. Look it up. I was surprised, and there have been a lot of bad ones. But
that was our take on the movie.
That was our review on the movie. Kind of long-winded. This episode ended up being longer than what we were anticipating, but
we're sorry about the spoilers.
I
But
apologize for interrupting a lot. I apologize for rambling, and I apologize for talking the majority, but I love this movie, and
when you're that passionate, you have to get it all out.
Dude, I mean, it's fantastic, but stay tuned for us. There's still a lot of great things coming your way on our channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell, and other than that,
make sure to finish up that drink. We sure have.
Yeah, well, not yet, but we will.
I have.
But stay with us. Leave
Ring
comments.
that bell.
Comments are always welcome. I'm so excited. I just can't speak English. There was a lot of Spanish speaking in this movie, so
there was. It was great. I enjoyed it the whole time.
Yeah, he understood like everything that they said,
Yep.
And I said, "Yeah, but they just said, okay, I'll be there." He said, "Oh no, they said a whole lot." but yeah, like, subscribe, ring the bell, leave comments.
And we'll catch you in the next episode
catch you in the next one.
of
And remember, stay retro.
Retro Reboot Arcade.